The night was quiet in the broken ruins outside the alien city. A poor human named Aaron walked through the dust with tired steps, his clothes torn, his face carrying the marks of hunger and struggle. He was not a warrior, not a rich man, just a simple worker who spent every day searching for scraps and food in the ruins that others had forgotten. But on this night, something strange waited for him, something that would change his life forever. Aaron bent down to move a piece of shattered stone, and under it he saw a small glow, faint but steady, like a hidden star buried under the earth. He brushed away the dust with shaking hands, his heart beating fast, and what he uncovered was a bracelet unlike anything he had ever seen. It was smooth, shining with a pale blue light, covered in strange alien symbols that seemed to shift when he looked too long. It looked old, older than the ruins, yet alive, as if it carried a breath inside it. He picked it up carefully, afraid it would break, but the metal felt warm, not cold like stone. The moment the bracelet touched his skin, a pulse of energy shot through him, and for 1 second he thought the ground moved under his feet. Aaron gasped, his eyes wide, because the bracelet tightened around his wrist like it belonged there, like it had been waiting for him. He tried to pull it off, but it refused to move, the glow spreading brighter, lighting the ruin like fire. What is this? Aaron whispered, his voice trembling, but no one answered, only the wind moving through the broken walls. He stood there, frozen, until he felt another thing, a presence, as if the bracelet was not just an object, but something watching him, testing him, choosing him. His chest tightened, fear mixing with a strange feeling of power, something he had never known in all his poor life. For the first time, Aaron felt noticed, as if the universe had turned its eyes on him. But he was not alone. From the shadows of the ruin, dark figures moved, tall and strong, armored in black steel. Alien soldiers, their eyes glowing gold, their weapons humming with energy. They had been watching, waiting, hunting for this very bracelet. And now they had found it. On the wrist of a poor human. Seize him, one of them growled, his voice like stone breaking. Aaron panicked, his body shaking. He wanted to run, but his legs felt heavy, and the soldiers closed in. The bracelet burned hotter against his skin, and the glow grew so strong that even the soldiers stopped for a moment, whispering to each other in their alien tongue. Impossible, one hissed. That is the mark of the billionaire. No human should carry it. The words meant little to Aaron, but the way they looked at him made his fear worse. He tried to speak, to explain, but his voice failed. The leader of the soldiers stepped forward, his sharp face filled with both fear and anger. You will come with us, human, he said. The master must see this with his own eyes. Before Aaron could resist, rough hands grabbed him, chains clamped around his arms, and the glow of the bracelet dimmed. But even through his fear, he felt the pulse of its energy still alive, beating like a second heart on his wrist. He did not know who this master was or why the soldiers feared the bracelet so much. But deep inside, Aaron felt one thing clear. This was no ordinary object, and his life would never be the same again. Dragged away from the ruins, his eyes turned one last time to the glowing stones where he had found it. The night seemed darker now, the silence heavier. And as the soldiers pushed him toward the unknown, the bracelet whispered in his skin, a silent promise of secrets and dangers yet to come. Aaron's wrists were bound in heavy chains as the alien soldiers dragged him across the dusty path that led away from the ruins. His mind raced faster than his feet. He had no idea why the bracelet clung to him or why these creatures cared so much. The soldiers spoke in low tones, but Aaron caught words that froze his blood. The billionaire must see this, one said. It cannot be true, another whispered. Every step he took felt like walking deeper into a trap. They shoved him into a hovering transport, its doors sliding shut with a hiss. Inside the chamber, strange lights pulsed on the walls, glowing symbols twisting like they were alive. Aaron sat on the cold floor, his heart pounding, while the soldiers sat opposite him, their golden eyes never leaving his wrist. The bracelet had dimmed, but every few seconds it sent out a faint shimmer, as if mocking their control. One soldier leaned closer, his face hidden behind a steel mask. Do you even know what you carry, human? He asked with a hiss. Aaron shook his head, his voice breaking. I just found it, I swear. The The soldier gave a low laugh that carried no joy. Then fate is cruel, for that belongs to the richest and most dangerous being in this quadrant. The transport rumbled through the night, leaving behind the ruins, and soon Aaron saw the glowing horizon of the alien city. It rose like a mountain of crystal and fire, towers reaching into the clouds, walls shining with silver light. Aaron had never seen such wealth, such beauty, and he felt smaller than ever before. This was a place for kings and lords, not for a poor scavenger with torn boots. The transport descended into a great hall lit by fire-blue torches. Alien guards lined the entrance, their weapons crossed as Aaron was pulled out and shoved toward the massive doors. The doors opened with a thunderous sound, revealing a hall larger than any cathedral. Gleaming marble stretched across the floor, and statues of alien rulers stared down with cold eyes. At the far end, sitting on a throne carved from living crystal, was the one they called the Billionaire. He was taller than any of the guards, dressed in robes woven with gold and light, his face sharp and ageless, his eyes glowing with intelligence and hunger. When his gaze fell on Aaron, the hall grew colder. The soldiers forced Aaron to his knees, and the leader spoke. "Master, we found the human with this." He pulled Aaron's chained arm forward, revealing the glowing bracelet. The hall fell silent, every alien eye fixed on that faint blue light. For a long moment, the Billionaire did not move, his gaze locked on the bracelet, his lips tightening. Then he rose from the throne, each step echoing like thunder. He reached out with his long fingers, almost touching the bracelet, but stopped. His voice was low and dangerous. "This was mine." Gasps spread through the hall, soldiers whispering in disbelief. The Billionaire's hand trembled slightly as he pulled it back, as if the sight cut into old wounds. Aaron felt the weight of every eye on him, fear choking his throat. "I didn't steal it," he tried to say. "I just found it." The Billionaire's golden eyes narrowed, his tone sharp. "This bracelet is not something one simply finds. It was a gift, given long ago, to someone precious, someone who is gone." The glow from the bracelet pulsed stronger, and Aaron felt it burn against his skin, but not with pain, with recognition. It was as if the object itself was alive and answering the alien's words. The Billionaire's advisors stepped forward, their voices harsh and cold. "Master, this human is unworthy. We should tear the bracelet from his arm, end his life before it corrupts more." Others hissed, "No human should carry the legacy of our kind. It is an insult." The hall filled with arguments, alien voices clashing like storms, but the Billionaire lifted one hand and silence returned. His eyes never left Aaron, his voice cutting through the air. "No, we will not destroy him. Not yet, for the bracelet does not lie. It has chosen him, and for that, I must know why." Aaron's breath quickened, fear battling with confusion. Why him? Why this object? What did it mean to be chosen by something that once belonged to an alien ruler? He looked around the hall, searching for mercy, but all he saw were cold faces, sharp eyes, and whispers that spoke of death. The Billionaire finally turned away, his robe flowing behind him, and gave his order. "Take the human to the lower chambers, guard him well, and prepare the trial. If he survives, then we will hear the truth. If not, the bracelet will die with him." Chains pulled tight around Aaron's arms again as he was dragged away, his feet stumbling over the marble floor. The whispers of the aliens followed him, curses and prophecies spoken in tongues he could barely understand. He felt the bracelet beating against his skin like a second heart, alive and restless. He had no choice but to follow, deeper into the palace, into the darkness below. The first encounter was over, and yet Aaron knew the true danger had only just begun. The lower chambers of the palace were not dark dungeons like Aaron imagined. They were carved from shining stone, glowing softly with lines of alien energy that ran like rivers across the walls. Guards pushed him through narrow halls, their golden eyes fixed on him as if he was carrying a curse. Every step echoed with the weight of his chains, and the bracelet continued to thrum against his wrist, sending out faint pulses like a heartbeat that was not his own. At last the doors opened, and Aaron was forced into another vast chamber, brighter and grander than the first. It was filled with alien nobles, dressed in rich robes and jewelry that shimmered with strange light, their faces sharp and elegant, their expressions cold. They sat in circles, whispering among themselves. But the moment Aaron entered, the room grew silent. All eyes turned to the human who wore the forbidden bracelet. Aaron felt like a cornered animal, small and powerless, his voice caught in his throat. The guards shoved him forward until he stood in the center of the chamber under a pillar of light that fell from above. The billionaire entered soon after, walking slowly down the steps of his throne, each step sending a chill through the air. He wore no crown, yet the authority in his presence was stronger than any king. His gaze locked on Aaron, not with simple anger, but with a storm of emotion, grief, fury, and something hidden deeper. The nobles bowed low, their voices murmuring, "Master, Master." But the billionaire ignored them, his eyes fixed on the glowing bracelet that clung to Aaron's wrist. He stepped closer, his voice low and heavy. "You stand where no human has ever stood before. Do you even know the weight you carry on your arm?" Aaron shook his head quickly, his voice trembling. "I swear, I don't know. I only found it in the ruins. It locked onto me. I cannot remove it." Gasps filled the chamber. Some nobles shouted, "Lies, tricks, he is a thief." Others hissed, "Destroy him now, before it brings ruin." The billionaire raised his hand, and the voices died at once, silence pressing down like iron. He moved closer, stopping just before Aaron, and for a long moment he simply looked at him, as though staring into his soul. Then he whispered, "This bracelet belonged to someone I gave my heart to long ago. It was never meant to return, yet here it is, bound to you, a human scavenger." The words were filled with pain, and the entire court shifted uneasily, their whispers rising again like buzzing insects. Aaron swallowed hard, the fear in his chest growing with every heartbeat. "I don't want it. Take it back if you wish," he said, pulling at the chains. But the bracelet answered for him, glowing brighter, sending a pulse of light across the chamber, making the nobles shield their eyes. The energy wrapped around Aaron's arm like fire, refusing to be removed, refusing to obey the commands of anyone but itself. The billionaire's eyes widened slightly, his expression hardening. "It will not leave you. It has chosen, and now we must see why." One of the advisors, a tall alien with silver skin, stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Master, this is dangerous. The trials must begin. If the human survives, then perhaps the bracelet has reason, but if he fails, he dies, and the curse ends." Many nodded in agreement, their cold gazes cutting into Aaron as if he was already dead. The billionaire looked back at Aaron, studying him with a strange intensity. "You will face the trial, human, not by choice but by fate. If the bracelet protects you, then you will live. If not, you will perish, and the stone will rest again." Aaron's chest tightened. He wanted to scream that he was innocent, that he was no warrior, no chosen one, just a poor man who picked up the wrong piece of metal. But when he looked down at the bracelet glowing against his skin, he knew his words would change nothing. It was already too late. The guards pulled him away again, their grip strong and unyielding, dragging him toward the unknown depths below the court. The nobles returned to their whispers, their golden eyes filled with cruel curiosity, waiting to see if the human would live or die. As he was taken away, Aaron glanced back one last time, and he caught the eyes of the alien billionaire. For the briefest second, he thought he saw something. Pain, recognition, even sorrow, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a mask of iron. The doors slammed shut behind him, and the chamber's voices faded into silence. Aaron was left with the pounding of his heart, the burning glow of the bracelet, and the echo of the words that sealed his fate. The trial will decide if you live or die. The guards dragged Aaron deep into the palace, down long twisting halls carved into the living stone. The deeper they went, the colder the air became, as if the warmth of the city above could not reach these depths. Strange lights burned in the walls, dim and pale, casting shifting shadows that seemed to follow Aaron with hungry eyes. Finally, the soldiers shoved him into a chamber unlike any he had seen before. The chamber was circular, its walls covered with alien symbols that glowed faintly. In the center stood a platform of black stone, and above it, streams of light spun like threads of energy reaching down from the ceiling. The guards forced Aaron onto the platform, locking his chains to the stone, then stepped back in silence. It was not just a prison, it was a place of judgment. The alien billionaire entered soon after, his golden eyes sharp as blades, followed by his advisors who spread around the chamber. None spoke at first, the silence thick with tension, until the billionaire's voice cut through the air. "This chamber holds the truth," he said, his words echoing across the walls. "It reveals what cannot be hidden. It strips lies and shows what lives beneath." Aaron shivered, pulling at his chains, but the bracelet tightened against his wrist as if warning him not to resist. The billionaire raised his hand, and the lights above bent downward, wrapping around Aaron. The air buzzed with power, and suddenly the bracelet began to glow brighter, the blue light spreading through his arm, across his chest, into his heart. Aaron gasped, his knees buckling, visions flashing in his mind like fire. He saw places he had never been, alien cities shining with crystal towers, battles fought under burning skies, faces of people he had never met, yet somehow recognized. Among the visions was one clearer than the rest. A woman, alien yet beautiful, her skin glowing faintly, her eyes gentle but strong. She wore the same bracelet, and she reached toward him with a smile that felt both familiar and impossibly distant. Aaron stumbled forward, whispering without meaning to, "Who are you?" But the vision faded before he could understand. The advisors hissed among themselves, shocked. The bracelet responds, "It shows him the air. This cannot be." Others shook their heads. "He is human. It should not accept him. This is dangerous." The billionaire's expression darkened, but his eyes held a trace of something else: pain, recognition, even longing. "This bracelet," he said slowly, "belonged to my lost heir, the last link of my bloodline. It vanished long ago with her, and now it has returned on the arm of this human." Aaron's chest tightened, confusion and fear battling inside him. "I don't understand. I am no heir, no blood of yours. I am no one." But the bracelet pulsed harder, sending waves of light that silenced every voice in the chamber. It was as if the object itself rejected his denial, as if it insisted he was more than he believed. The billionaire stepped closer, his voice sharp. "Then answer me this, human. Why does the bracelet not leave you? Why does it protect you? Why does it show you visions only my blood should see?" Aaron had no answer, his throat dry, his heart racing. All he could feel was the warmth of the bracelet burning deeper into his skin. The nobles whispered of curses, of prophecy, of danger to their empire if the human lived. Some demanded his death at once, others warned of rebellion if the truth spread. But the billionaire silenced them with a single command, his golden eyes fixed on Aaron like fire. "No, he will not die here. Not yet. The trial will tell us the truth. If the bracelet defends him, he is chosen. If not, his blood will stain the stone." The guards pulled at Aaron's chains, dragging him off the platform, his legs weak from the visions. He could still feel the echo of the woman's smile in his mind, still hear her silent voice calling to him. He had no idea who she was or why the bracelet had shown her, but he knew one thing clearly: the object was alive, and it had chosen him for a reason, and that reason would either save him or destroy him. As he was taken away once more, Aaron glanced back at the billionaire. For the briefest moment, he thought he saw sorrow in the alien's eyes, the sorrow of a father who had lost something precious. But it was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by a mask of command and power. The doors closed behind Aaron, and he was left with only the whisper of the bracelet and the terror of the trial that waited for him in the depths. Aaron was dragged into the deepest part of the palace, past iron gates and glowing corridors, until the guards stopped before a set of doors carved with alien beasts. The doors opened with a heavy groan, revealing an arena of stone and fire, lit by strange blue torches that never burned out. High above, alien nobles filled the seats carved into the walls, their golden eyes glowing in the shadows, waiting to see the fate of the human who wore the sacred bracelet. The guards shoved Aaron into the center of the arena, his chains removed only so he could face the trial. He staggered on his feet, fear twisting in his chest, his eyes darting around the vast chamber that smelled of smoke and dust. The bracelet pulsed faintly on his wrist, as if it too waited for what was to come. A deep horn echoed through the arena, and the alien billionaire entered, standing on a high balcony overlooking the trial ground. His robes shimmered with threads of gold, his eyes burning with both anger and curiosity. He lifted his hand, and the chamber fell silent. "Today the trial begins," his voice thundered. "This human claims no knowledge of what he carries, yet the bracelet binds itself to him. If it protects him, he may live. If not, his life ends here." The crowd roared, some with hunger for blood, others with fearful whispers of fate. Aaron clenched his fists, his throat dry, his heart hammering against his ribs. He wanted to scream that he never asked for this, that he was just a poor man who found a cursed object, but he knew no one would listen. The trial had already begun. The floor of the arena split apart with a grinding sound, and from below rose a creature unlike anything Aaron had ever seen. It was massive, its skin armored like black stone, its 4 eyes burning red, its claws scraping sparks against the stone floor. The crowd cheered as the beast roared, shaking the chamber, its breath hot and foul like smoke. Aaron stumbled back, his hands trembling. He had no weapon, no shield, only the strange bracelet that clung to his arm. The beast charged, the ground shaking under its weight, and Aaron threw himself aside, barely avoiding the strike. The claws tore into the stone, leaving deep scars where he had stood moments before. Aaron scrambled to his feet, his breath sharp and fast, his body weak. But as the beast turned again, the bracelet glowed brighter. A shield of blue light burst from it, deflecting the creature's strike, sending sparks across the arena. Gasps filled the air, the nobles rising from their seats in shock. Aaron stared at the glowing shield, his heart racing. The bracelet was not just decoration, it was alive, and it was protecting him. The beast roared in fury, swinging again, and once more the bracelet's light flared, saving him. But Aaron could feel the drain, as if the bracelet was pulling strength from his very soul. The alien billionaire leaned forward, his eyes narrowing, watching every move. The advisors whispered among themselves, some shouting, "It accepts him. It should not. This is impossible." Others snarled, "Destroy him, before the bond deepens." But the billionaire silenced them, his gaze locked only on Aaron and the glowing bracelet. The beast circled, slower now, cautious of the strange power. Aaron felt the warmth of the bracelet spread through his body, giving him a burst of courage he never thought he had. For once he did not run. He faced the beast, his arm lifted as the light grew stronger. When the monster lunged again, Aaron swung his arm, and the bracelet released a wave of energy, striking the beast and throwing it back across the arena. The crowd fell silent, their golden eyes wide with disbelief. Aaron collapsed to his knees, gasping, the bracelet dimming again, but the beast lay still, defeated. The silence broke into a storm of voices, shouts of fear, cries of outrage, whispers of prophecy. The billionaire stood tall on the balcony, his face unreadable, but his eyes burning brighter than ever. "Enough!" His voice cut through the chaos. "The trial has spoken." Every noble bowed their heads, though their whispers continued in secret. The guards stepped into the arena, pulling Aaron to his feet, his body weak but alive. The bracelet glowed faintly again, as if satisfied with the outcome. Aaron did not understand why it had saved him, why it fought for him when he was no one. But as the nobles shouted their curses and the billionaire watched in silence, Aaron knew the truth was coming closer. He was not just a poor human anymore. The bracelet had marked him, and there was no turning back. The trial was over, but the real test had only just begun. The arena was silent now, the beast lying dead, its armored body smoking under the strange power of the bracelet. Aaron stood weakly in the center, his knees trembling, sweat dripping from his face, his chest heaving with every breath. The guards moved to seize him, but the alien billionaire raised his hand, and at once they froze. "Bring him to me," he commanded, his voice sharp and heavy. The crowd roared in protest, voices overlapping in anger and fear. "He is human. He should be destroyed," some shouted. "He carries the cursed heirloom," others hissed. "It will bring ruin." But none dared to defy the command of the master. The guards dragged Aaron through a side passage, away from the arena, up into the heart of the palace once more. He was led into a smaller chamber, quiet and dim, its walls carved with flowing patterns of light. Unlike the grand throne room, this place felt private, filled not with gold, but with memories. Strange artifacts rested on shelves. Old paintings glimmered in faint crystal frames, and in the center of the room, a single statue stood. It was the statue of a young alien woman, her features soft yet strong, her arm lifted, a bracelet glowing on her wrist. Aaron froze, his heart skipping a beat, because the face was the same one he had seen in his visions during the trial of truth. The billionaire entered, his robes trailing behind him, his expression unreadable, though his eyes burned with something more than anger now. He dismissed the guards with a wave, leaving only him and Aaron in the chamber. For a long moment, the billionaire stood in silence, staring at the statue, his hands tightening behind his back. At last, he spoke, his voice low, carrying weight like stone. "You saw her, didn't you, in the visions?" Aaron's throat went dry, but he nodded. "Yes. I saw her. She was wearing this bracelet." The billionaire's jaw tightened, his golden eyes flicking to the glow on Aaron's wrist. "That woman was my heir, my daughter," he said slowly, his voice shaking with both grief and rage. "She vanished long ago, taken from me by enemies who sought to break my line. She was never found. Only her bracelet remained lost. Until now." Aaron felt the words crash into him like a wave, his mind spinning. He looked down at the glowing band on his wrist. "I don't understand. Why would it bind to me? I am no heir. I am not even of your kind." The billionaire stepped closer, his towering figure casting a long shadow over Aaron. The bracelet was more than ornament. It was forged with blood and memory, a mark of lineage. It should only answer to my blood. Yet here you stand, human, chosen by it. Aaron shook his head, fear rising in his chest. "I'm no one, just a scavenger. I don't belong here." The billionaire's eyes narrowed, studying him with unsettling intensity. "Perhaps you are no one, or perhaps fate is cruel. Perhaps there is something in you we do not see." He reached out suddenly, his hand gripping Aaron's arm, the bracelet pulsing as if alive under his touch. Aaron felt a surge of heat rush through him, visions flashing again. The woman's face, her voice whispering in a language he could not understand, but one word stood clear: chosen. The billionaire released him, his face hardened again into a mask, though Aaron thought he saw pain in his eyes. "If the bracelet accepts you, then the blood of my heir flows in you somehow, or destiny has forced its hand," he said, his voice low. "Either way, the nobles will not accept this. They will call for your death. They already whisper rebellion." Aaron's chest tightened, his hands shaking. "Then why don't you kill me?" he asked, his voice breaking. The billionaire turned sharply, his robes sweeping the floor as he looked back at the statue, his voice quiet, almost broken. "Because for the first time in centuries, the bracelet glows again, and for the first time, I feel the presence of my daughter. If it lives in you, even faintly, I cannot destroy it." Silence filled the chamber, heavy and suffocating, the statue's glowing eyes watching them both. Aaron lowered his head, not knowing what he had become, a prisoner, a chosen one, or simply a pawn in a story larger than himself. The billionaire's voice rose again, sharp and cold now. "Do not mistake my mercy for trust, human. You are alive only because the bracelet demands it, but the moment it abandons you, so will I." Guards entered again, responding to the summons of their master. "Take him back to the holding cells," the billionaire ordered, his eyes never leaving the glowing band on Aaron's wrist. The guards seized him once more, pulling him away, but Aaron could not forget the words, nor the sorrow hidden behind the alien ruler's mask. As he was dragged through the halls, Aaron felt the bracelet pulse against his skin, stronger than before. He did not know what truth it carried, nor why it had chosen him, but he knew one thing: his life was no longer his own. The truth had been revealed. But it was only the beginning of something greater. The cell was quiet except for the steady hum of alien energy that kept the walls alive. Aaron sat on the cold floor, his head in his hands, the bracelet glowing faintly in the darkness, pulsing like a second heart. He had faced the beast, endured the visions, stood before the alien billionaire himself, yet none of it gave him peace. He was still a prisoner, still a poor human thrown into a storm he never asked for. The door opened with a hiss, and the guards marched in, their faces hard and unreadable. "Rise," one commanded, pulling Aaron to his feet. "The master has called for you." Aaron's stomach tightened, his heart racing as they dragged him back through the endless halls of the palace. This time they did not take him to the trial grounds or the judgment chamber, but to the throne hall once more. The nobles filled the great chamber, their golden eyes glittering like stars in the shadows. Whispers spread as Aaron entered, chains clinking at his wrists, the glow of the bracelet impossible to ignore. On the throne sat the alien billionaire, his gaze fixed on Aaron with the weight of both power and grief. He raised his hand, and the chamber fell silent. "This human has survived the trial," he declared, his voice echoing across the hall. "The bracelet has chosen him, though he is not of our blood." Gasps and shouts rose from the nobles, anger filling the air like fire. "He is an impostor," one cried. "A trick of fate," shouted another. "Kill him before the curse spreads." But the billionaire silenced them with a glare that cut sharper than any blade. He rose from the throne, his robe flowing like storm clouds, his steps slow but powerful as he descended toward Aaron. When he reached him, he did not speak at once, only studied the bracelet glowing against Aaron's skin. Then his voice came low, heavy with pain. "This was my daughter's, the last mark of her life. It vanished with her, and now it beats with you. Human, against all reason." Aaron swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "I don't want your throne, your riches, or your power. I never asked for this. But if the bracelet chose me, then tell me what it means. Why me?" The billionaire's eyes narrowed, the fire in them burning brighter. "That is the question. Is it fate? Is it curse? Or is it her will reaching across time?" The chamber erupted again with shouts of fear and anger, the nobles demanding blood. But the billionaire lifted his hand once more, and silence returned. For a long moment he stood there, torn between fury and sorrow, the weight of centuries pressing down on his shoulders. Then he turned to the hall, his voice rising like thunder. "This human lives, not by his choice, not by mine, but by the command of the bracelet, and no one shall harm him." The nobles shouted in outrage, but none dared step forward, for the master's will was law. He looked back at Aaron, his voice dropping low so only he could hear. "You are bound to me now, whether I wish it or not. Your life and mine are tied through this ancient bond. If you betray it, I will end you. But if you honor it, you may yet find a place among us." Aaron stared at him, stunned, his heart heavy with fear and confusion. But deep inside, a spark of something else flickered, hope. The guards released his chains, and for the first time since he was captured, Aaron stood free. The bracelet pulsed brighter, its light filling the chamber as if it had been waiting for this moment. The nobles recoiled, shielding their eyes, some whispering that prophecy had returned, others hissing that doom had come. The billionaire only stared at the light, his face unreadable, but his eyes burning with something Aaron could not name. Slowly, the alien billionaire turned back to his throne, his voice echoing through the hall. "The human will stay. He will live under my watch, and the truth of the bracelet will be revealed in time. Until then, let the stars bear witness." The chamber fell into uneasy silence, the nobles bowing though their whispers of rebellion did not stop. Aaron looked at the glowing band on his wrist, the weight of destiny pressing down on him. He was no longer a poor scavenger, no longer forgotten. He was bound to something greater, something dangerous. His life was no longer his own, but for the first time, he felt a strange strength rising inside him. The truth had left him speechless, but the choice had been made. And in the silence of the throne hall, with the bracelet pulsing like a living star, Aaron knew his story was only beginning. His fire had burned away betrayal. The legacy of his choice would echo long after, whispered in halls, told in stories, carried through generations. The legacy of one human who refused to bow, who listened to the alien girl's warning, and answered with wrath that shook the colony. And so the night fell over the battered walls, the stars cold above. The colony lived, the people endured, and Marcus stood unbroken. But deep in the silence, the alien girl's words lingered like a warning. The line between savior and tyrant is thin, and fire walks both sides.